Right now, as a time recording, we're recording on the Tuesday. The NBA play-in is happening. I celebrated my birthday this past weekend at the OKC Thunder home game Sunday. They played the Dallas Mavericks. Unfortunately, my Mavericks lost by nearly 50 points, if not 50 points. The game was over by halftime, but I had a fun time regardless. Regardless, I had my Dirk Nowitzki jersey on, so it was a great time. But with that win, the Thunder clinched the number one seed, which means that whoever they're playing is going to come out of the play-in game Thursday. Right now, that play-in includes the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Warriors. Barry, of those four names, which team presents the most favorable matchup for the OKC Thunder in round one?
I would say the Pelicans. I don't think they, not that the Pelicans would be easy, but the Thunder would have confidence having beaten the Pelicans in a big game last year in a play-in game. So I think you've got that going for them. And I just don't think they match up. They match up decently against the Warriors, but there's the Warriors are playing really well, and they don't match up well against the Lakers, don't match up well against the Kings necessarily. So I think the Pelicans would be the best opponent for the Thunder.
If I could handpick an opponent for the Thunder in that first round, it's the Lakers. Barry, don't you want to see that? Don't you want to see the Lakers come in there for a battle? I'm serious. I mean, I'll never the loudest and most juiced that the Oklahoma City crowds have ever been were for man. You'll see, Juwan, the Oklahoma City crowds for the postseason games are famously loud and engaged. But I've never heard it as loud as it was for the Lakers series in 2010. And there's just something about LeBron, and I think it would be really satisfying for the entire Thunder culture to knock LeBron out of the playoffs in the first round. But as far as favorable matchups, yeah, Barry's right. It's the Pelicans, but I think the Lakers are going to beat the Pelicans. The Lakers will advance. And then face the Golden State Sacramento loser. Yeah. And then no, I got it backwards. Anyway, it's of the four. I don't really think I want to see Golden State, and I don't really, from a matchup standpoint, love the Lakers as a first round opponent. But from a statement standpoint, and just to knock LeBron out of the postseason. And to get the crowd engaged at the maximum ultimate level, bring LA on. I mean, if you're going to have to win a bunch of tough games and beat good teams, so let's just come out of the gate against the Lakers and see what it looks like.
Also with that number one seed, that puts SGA, I don't know if the forefront of the MVP discussion, but I mean it makes the case against him substantially harder. Barry, after the Thunder locked up the number one seed, is SGA your MVP this year?
Absolutely. Slam dunk. I said a few weeks ago, the way I was reading the NBA national talk was that SGA, if Oklahoma City was the number one seed, that SGA's got to be the MVP. And I absolutely believe that now. Although now you're hearing a lot of talk, well, it's going to be Joker. A lot of people are still promoting Luka. Some are promoting Jalen Brunson. Got the New York factor there. But you can't do anything more than SGA did this year. Number one seed, averages 30 points a game. He was there every night except for the late in the season. We took those 4 games off to get healed up. You can't do anything more than he did. So he's absolutely the MVP.
Well, I mean, defensively led the league in steals, right? And you can't just determine a guy's value defensively based on a stat like steals, because defense is an every possession effort thing, right? But you can watch the games and see for yourself that Shai Alexander guards every guy he's squared up against every possession. He really works. You never see him. Russell Westbrook, Juwan, we used to laugh at him, how glaringly he would take off defensive possessions and just stand around and watch. Shai doesn't do that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be the MVP. 57 wins, number one seed, number 3 scorer in the league, and the number 1 guy in steals, and unquestioned leader of the second youngest team in the league and the youngest team in the league ever to be the 1 seed. I don't know how you don't get it to him. In fact, I said before we started recording that, this is going to be one of the closest MVP votes of all time. The more I'm thinking about it and listening to Barry talk about it, I'm not sure why it really should be that close a vote. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to me is clearly, whether he wins it or not, he's the most valuable player in the league.
This wasn't something that was on our show's agenda, but as you were talking, Bill, a thought popped into my head about this SGA argument. And, I asked the question, which one would be favorable? I get the notion that a lot of national pundits believe that this Thunder team, if they have to play the Lakers and even the Warriors, that they're pretty much a first round exit. Being the fact that there's a number 1 seeded team, and you could look at it as that if he has to play LeBron or Steph Curry, a lot of people would think that the Thunder would be the underdogs. Do you feel, Bill, that plays any role in the fact that he isn't getting that loud MVP chant like Jokic is?
Well, if it is, it's ridiculous. I mean, it should have no bearing on that. In fact, the deadline for MVP votes is later. In fact, it starts today's the 16th, starts today. 16th through the 19th is the MVP voting. It used to be earlier than this, which was silly to vote before the end of the regular season. But if you base a regular season award like MVP on some sort of possibility on first round matchups, that's ridiculous. And I'm just saying, I think my memory is scarred, and Barry was sitting there with me when it happened, by what the Warriors did in Oklahoma City in 2016 and Klay Thompson and that amazing comeback from 3-1 for the Warriors. And then, of course, LeBron has historically played his best basketball against Oklahoma City. So they're going to have to overcome an obstacle in the first round, psychologically to some extent, and for sure physically with the matchup. So I just kind of am partial to seeing LA come in. I think it'd be a lot of fun to kick off this postseason and to have Oklahoma City, to have LeBron James on the other end of the floor for the first Oklahoma City home game in a playoff game in 5 years.
SGA would for sure be
all the time. We used to go to these games all the time, Barry, and it's been 5 years now. It's crazy.
SGA
6 years for me.
100%.
I did the Portland series in 19.
SGA is 100% my MVP. My head is telling me SGA, but just looking at what these national voters are doing, I really think that they're going to give it to Jokic, even though, 3 MVPs, I feel like that puts him in the discussion all time historically that I don't know if I would be ready to put Jokic in. But there just hasn't been this loud chant nationally for SGA. I don't know if that has to do with the lack of national attention the Thunder gets, if it's the fact that people aren't buying into this Thunder team, their youth, or they just, I don't know what it is, but for me, if I was a voter, I would hand my vote to SGA. But if I was a betting man, I would probably put my money on Jokic. So with that, and Barry told me if the Mavericks get eliminated from the playoffs, I have to become a Thunder fan. I don't know if I would do that, but we'll see though, Barry.
All right. Well, just looking forward to an exciting postseason.